The first rays of dawn sliced through the mist. Lake Mirara awoke. A veil of fog clung to the water, hiding secrets beneath its surface. Ancient and still, the lake held its breath. Whispers danced on the breeze. They spoke of legends, of shadows lurking in the depths, of mysteries waiting to be unraveled. The air hung heavy with anticipation. Something stirred within those depths. Some unseen force, both alluring and terrifying. The surface rippled. I felt the pull, the insistent lure of the unknown. This week I answer the call. Lake Mirara, I'm here. My name is your name, and I'm here for the truth. They say the waters whisper to those who listen, and listen I will. The stillness of dawn shattered. The roar of engines echoed across the water. The international fishing tournament at Lake Mirara was about to begin. This wasn't just any competition. This was a 5-day test of skill, luck, and nerve. Anglers from every corner of the globe had answered the call. They came seeking glory, bragging rights, and the chance to conquer the legendary Lake Mirara. Pickup trucks towing boats rumbled into the lakeside clearing. Tents sprouted like colorful mushrooms. Laughter and excited chatter filled the air. A buzz of anticipation crackled through the growing crowd. The energy was infectious. Even the birds in the surrounding trees seemed to chirp a little louder, caught up in the excitement. This was more than a tournament. It was a gathering of kindred spirits, drawn together by the allure of the water and the thrill of the chase. A group of Japanese anglers, their faces hidden behind wide-brimmed hats, meticulously prepared their lines, their movements as precise and elegant as a tea ceremony. A burly Russian man, his beard thick and bushy, laughed as he hefted a tackle box seemingly bigger than himself. Two young women, their laughter echoing across the water, unloaded their gear with an easy camaraderie, their excitement palpable. Each face held a story, each pair of eyes reflected a different dream. But one emotion united them all: determination. They had come from across continents, these anglers, drawn together by the irresistible lure of Lake Mirara. They were doctors and lawyers, teachers and tradespeople. They were fathers and mothers, sons and daughters. But here, on the shores of this legendary lake, they were all simply anglers, united by their love of the sport and their desire to test their skills against the best in the world. The atmosphere crackled with a nervous energy. The air was thick with the scent of sunscreen, insect repellent, and anticipation. The murmur of voices speaking in a dozen different languages created a strange and intoxicating symphony. The stage was set, the players were in position, the game was about to begin, and I, for one, couldn't wait to see how it would all unfold. I unpacked my own gear, my hands moving with a practiced ease. Rod, reel, tackle box. Each item had been carefully chosen, honed over years of trial and error. My fingers traced the familiar contours of my lucky lure, a gift from my grandfather. It had never failed me. But here, on the shores of Lake Mirara, even the most reliable equipment seemed inadequate. The lake had a way of testing even the most seasoned angler. The whispers started again, faint at first, carried on the breeze. They spoke of shadows moving beneath the surface, of creatures unseen, of legends whispered around campfires. Legends of the Silver King Serpent, a creature of immense size and power. An eel, they said, large enough to swallow a man whole. Its scales shimmered like silver and its eyes glowed with an eerie light. Some dismissed it as mere folklore, a story to frighten children. But others, those who knew the lake best, spoke of it in hushed tones. They knew the truth. The legend was real. I paused, listening to the whispers, feeling a shiver run down my spine. Was it the cool morning air, or something more? The lake held its secrets close, guarded by layers of mist and myth, but I was determined to uncover them. Every angler knew the stories. The legends of the Silver King Serpent were woven into the fabric of Lake Mirara. A creature of immense size, its scales gleaming like coins under a full moon. They said it was an eel, but unlike any ever seen. Some claimed it stretched the length of a longboat, others whispered of eyes like glowing embers. Was it real, or just a fisherman's tale? I'd heard these stories myself, sitting in smoky pubs. Old fishermen, their faces weathered, would lean in, their voices hushed. They'd speak of sudden, inexplicable disappearances, boats vanishing without a trace, leaving only ripples. And always, the whispers would return to the Silver King. These tales, passed down through generations, were more than just stories. They were warnings of the power that lay beneath the tranquil surface. They spoke of a force older than time, the fear of the unknown, the fear of being consumed by something larger. It was easy to dismiss these tales as folklore, but there was something about the way people spoke of the Silver King. The locals, weathered by generations of sun and wind, spoke of the Silver King in hushed tones, their voices barely a murmur against the backdrop of lapping water and rustling reeds. They told of ancient rituals, offerings made to appease the creature and ensure safe passage across the lake. Small wooden carvings shaped like fish and serpents were sometimes found washed ashore, their purpose shrouded in mystery. Were they tributes to the Silver King, pleas for its mercy, or perhaps warnings left by those who had encountered it and lived to tell the tale? The old woman, her face a roadmap of wrinkles, told me of a time, long ago, when the village bordering the lake was struck by a terrible plague. Crops withered, livestock perished, and the villagers grew weak and desperate. In their desperation they turned to the lake, their only source of sustenance. But the fish had vanished, as if driven away by some unseen force. Just when all hope seemed lost, a young woman, the daughter of the village elder, went down to the water's edge. She carried with her a small, intricately carved wooden serpent, an heirloom passed down through generations of her family. She waded into the water, her white dress billowing around her like a shroud, and offered the carving to the lake. The next morning the villagers awoke to find their nets filled with fish, more than they had ever seen before. The plague soon lifted and the village prospered once more. The old woman, her voice barely a whisper now, told me that the carving, the one offered by the young woman, was a symbol of the Silver King, a reminder of the creature's power and the need to respect the delicate balance of nature. She claimed the woman had been taken by the creature, a sacrifice for the good of her people. The legend of the Silver King extended beyond the village, reaching out to snare the imaginations of those who dared to venture onto the lake's glassy surface. There were tales of fishing boats, their hulls sturdy and seaworthy, suddenly seized by an unseen force, dragged down into the depths with terrifying speed. Fishermen, their faces etched with terror, would resurface, babbling of a monstrous serpentine form, its scales glinting like silver in the murky water, its eyes burning with an unnatural light. One story, whispered around campfires, told of two brothers out fishing on a day much like this one. The sun was high, the water calm, when their boat, without warning, lurched violently. One moment, they were hauling in their nets, filled with the day's catch. The next, they were fighting for their lives. The elder brother, a burly man known for his strength, was pulled overboard, dragged beneath the surface before he could even utter a cry. The younger brother, his face white with terror, clung to the railing of the boat, his knuckles white, his eyes wide with disbelief. He would later swear, his voice trembling, that he had seen it. The Silver King, its massive, eel-like body coiled around the hull of their boat, its head, larger than a man, emerging from the water, its jaws gaping wide, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth. He had watched, helpless, as his brother disappeared into those monstrous jaws, dragged down to a watery grave. The boat, released from the creature's grip, bobbed harmlessly on the surface, the only evidence of the tragedy, a few drops of blood staining the wooden deck. These tales, woven into the very fabric of Lake Mirara, painted a terrifying picture of a creature of immense power and malevolence. But were they merely stories, or did they hint at a deeper truth? As I assembled my own fishing gear, my mind raced, torn between skepticism and a growing unease. Could there be some truth to these legends? Some kernel of reality buried beneath layers of myth and exaggeration? The rational part of me, the scientist, the seasoned angler, dismissed these tales as just that, stories. Exaggerations, embellishments designed to thrill and terrify in equal measure. And yet, there was a part of me, a primal, instinctive part, that couldn't shake off the feeling that something was watching me from the depths of the lake. I pushed the thought aside, attributing it to the power of suggestion, the cumulative effect of countless whispered tales and haunted eyes. I had come to Lake Mirara in search of answers, to test my skills against the best anglers in the world, and perhaps to unravel the mysteries that lay hidden beneath its placid surface. But as I prepared to cast my line into the water, a shiver ran down my spine, a primal fear that whispered of ancient secrets and a power that dwarfed even the most seasoned angler. I was determined to uncover the truth, to separate fact from fiction, but as I looked out over the still, dark water, I couldn't escape the feeling that I was stepping into a realm where the lines between myth and reality were blurred, where the whispers of the wind carried warnings, and where the legend of the Silver King Serpent held sway. The Silver King Serpent, a creature of myth and legend. But every legend has a grain of truth. My years exploring waterways taught me that stories hold a kernel of reality. The rational part of me scoffed at the notion of a monstrous serpent. But I've learned to trust my instincts, to pay attention to subtle clues. Sonar has revolutionized our understanding of what lies beneath the surface. Could it unlock the mystery of the Silver King Serpent? I was determined to find out. I spent hours familiarizing myself with the sonar readings of Lake Mirara. The technology had advanced considerably. Modern sonar units could differentiate between objects, providing rough estimates of size and shape. I saw telltale arches and blobs indicating fish. Schools of baitfish scattered as larger predators moved among them. But there was nothing suggesting a monstrous serpent. I focused on the deeper sections where the Silver King Serpent was said to lurk. The sonar beam painted a picture of the lakebed. I saw submerged trees and rocky outcrops. Large shapes, likely catfish, moved slowly. As the sun set, I still hadn't found anything conclusive. No monstrous serpents, no unusual creatures. The lake guarded its secrets. Disappointment tugged at me. Had I let my fascination with the legend cloud my judgment? Was I chasing shadows, pursuing a myth? Just when I was about to pack up, I caught a glimpse of something. A large, elongated shape, unlike anything I'd seen before. Too large to be a catfish, too elongated to be a sturgeon. My pulse quickened. Could this be it? The Silver King Serpent finally revealing itself? I took a deep breath, reminding myself to stay calm, to approach the situation with a scientist's eye, not a storyteller's imagination. I adjusted the sonar settings, narrowing the beam, focusing on the area where I'd seen the unusual shape. It was still there, moving slowly, deliberately, as if aware of my presence. I tried to get a better reading, to determine its size, its shape, anything that might provide a clue to its identity. But the creature, if that's what it was, remained elusive, moving in and out of the sonar beam, teasing me with glimpses of its true form. Then, just as quickly as it had appeared, it was gone. I scanned the area for several more minutes, but there was no sign of it. I was left with more questions than answers, my mind racing with possibilities. Could it have been a large log, carried by underwater currents? A school of fish, clustered together in an unusual formation? Or was it something else entirely, something that defied easy explanation? I knew that eels could grow to impressive sizes, some species reaching lengths of several meters. Could the Silver King Serpent, if it existed, be a giant eel, its size exaggerated by generations of storytelling? It was certainly possible. Eels were known to inhabit freshwater lakes and rivers, and their serpentine bodies combined with their nocturnal habits made them ideal candidates for mythical creatures. I'd encountered large eels before, their muscular bodies writhing, their teeth sharp enough to inflict a nasty bite. But none had ever come close to the size and power attributed to the Silver King Serpent. Still, I knew that the natural world was full of surprises, and that even the most outlandish tales often had a grain of truth to them. The more I considered the possibility, the more plausible it seemed. Certain catfish species, like the Wells catfish found in Eastern Europe and Asia, could grow to enormous sizes, some individuals exceeding 3 meters in length and weighing hundreds of kilos. These behemoths were known to inhabit large rivers and lakes, their size and power often exaggerated in local folklore. Could the Silver King Serpent be a case of mistaken identity, a large catfish misidentified as a monstrous serpent? Catfish with their whiskered faces and slimy skin might not possess the same mythical allure as a giant serpent, but their size and strength were undeniable. They were opportunistic predators, feeding on fish, crustaceans, and even small mammals that ventured too close to the water's edge. I'd heard stories of Wells catfish attacking pigeons and ducks, dragging them beneath the surface with surprising speed and agility. Could a large catfish, perhaps startled or provoked, be responsible for the tails of boats being pulled under? It seemed unlikely, but not impossible. Catfish were bottom feeders, but they were also known to be curious and opportunistic. A large catfish, attracted by the movement of a boat or the vibrations of a fish finder, might investigate, bumping into the hull or even attempting to feed on fish attracted to the boat's shadow. While it seemed improbable that a catfish, even a large one, could drag a boat under, the possibility, however remote, was intriguing. It highlighted the importance of approaching these legends with a critical eye, of separating fact from fiction, of using science and observation to unravel the mysteries of the natural world. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the water, I packed up my gear, my mind still churning with possibilities. The legend of the Silver King Serpent, while captivating, remained just that, a legend. But the sonar readings, the glimpses of large creatures moving in the depths, hinted at a truth that lay somewhere between myth and reality. The lake, I realized, was a place of secrets, a realm where the lines between the known and the unknown blurred. It was a place where ancient stories held a grain of truth, where imagination and reality intertwined, where the whispers on the wind carried echoes of both wonder and fear. My search for the Silver King Serpent had, at least for today, come to an end. But the experience had left an indelible mark, a reminder that the natural world is full of wonders, and that sometimes, the most incredible stories are rooted in a reality that is far stranger and more fascinating than fiction. Dusk settled over Lake Mirara. A hush fell over the campsite. The air, still thick with the day's heat, hummed with the drone of cicadas. The camaraderie of the day, the shared excitement of the upcoming tournament, felt like a distant memory. The laughter had died down, replaced by a palpable tension. Whispers rippled through the gathering, hushed conversations punctuated by anxious glances towards the darkening water. Something was wrong. A figure hurried past, their face etched with worry. They were heading towards the makeshift registration tent, their voice sharp with urgency. I caught snippets of their conversation. Missing. Haven't seen him since. Boat's gone. My gut twisted. The whispers intensified, carrying a new weight, a chilling undercurrent of fear. One of the competitors, a seasoned angler from Brazil named Marco, had vanished. Marco. I remembered him. A bear of a man with a booming laugh and a twinkle in his eye. He'd regaled us with stories of battling giant arapaima in the Amazon, his hands gesturing wildly as he described their size and ferocity. He was a veteran of countless tournaments, a man who knew the water like the back of his hand, and now he was gone, vanished without a trace. The organizers, their faces grim, tried to maintain order, to quell the rising panic. A search party was being organized, they assured us, their voices strained. Local fishermen, their faces etched with concern, volunteered their boats and their knowledge of the lake. Flashlights cut through the darkness, their beams dancing across the water, searching, hoping for a sign, a clue, anything that might lead them to the missing angler. But the lake remained silent, its surface reflecting the star-studded sky like a black mirror. The legend of the Silver King Serpent, dismissed earlier as mere folklore, now hung heavy in the air. Whispers, barely audible at first, grew louder, fueled by fear and uncertainty. The locals, their faces drawn, spoke in hushed tones of ancient curses and vengeful spirits, their words doing little to ease the growing sense of dread. The lake, they muttered, had a way of claiming those who dared to tempt fate, who dared to disrespect its power. Even the most skeptical among us, those who scoffed at the notion of mythical creatures and ancient curses, couldn't shake off the feeling that something was amiss. The lake, so tranquil during the day, now seemed to pulsate with a dark energy, its depths concealing an unseen menace. The air itself felt different, charged with a primal fear, a sense of foreboding that sent shivers down our spines. The sound of an outboard motor shattered the silence, its drone echoing across the water. The first boats set out into the night, their searchlights piercing the darkness, searching for any sign of the missing angler. The beams swept across the water, revealing the ghostly shapes of fallen trees submerged beneath the surface. But there was no sign of Marco, no clue as to what had befallen him. The search continued throughout the night, a desperate race against time. The organizers coordinated the search efforts, their voices hoarse from shouting instructions. As dawn began to paint the sky, hope began to dwindle. The boats returned, their crews exhausted, their faces etched with disappointment. No sign of Marco, no trace of his presence on the lake. The mood at the campsite was somber, the air thick with a sense of loss and disbelief. The whispers had died down, replaced by a stunned silence. The lake now seemed ominous, its depths holding a secret that no one wanted to face. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of blood orange and bruised purple. A chill wind whispered across Lake Mirara, rippling the surface, disturbing the reflections of the stars that twinkled above. The water, so inviting just hours earlier, now seemed cold, almost menacing. The metallic clink of lures, the soft whir of fishing line being unspooled, these were usually sounds of anticipation, of excitement for the day ahead. But tonight, they were accompanied by a knot of unease in my stomach, a prickling at the back of my neck that no amount of logical reasoning could dispel. I checked my gear one last time, my headlamp casting long, distorted shadows across the campsite. Rod, reel, tackle box, all were in order, but the familiar weight of the equipment felt different tonight, heavier somehow, as if burdened by the weight of the unknown. The whispers of the wind seemed to carry a warning, a message from the lake itself, urging me to turn back, to abandon this fool's errand. But something drew me forward, a need to understand, to confront the fear that gnawed at the edges of my mind. The disappearance of my fellow angler Marco had cast a long shadow over the tournament, a chilling reminder that beneath the beauty of nature, there often lurked a raw, untamed power. And Lake Mirara, with its whispered legends and murky depths, seemed to hold an abundance of both. Tomorrow we cast off. The tournament must go on, a testament to the enduring spirit of man, to our unwavering desire to test ourselves against the elements, against the unknown. But as I zipped my tent flap against the encroaching night, the silhouette of my fishing rod leaning against a nearby tree seemed to take on an almost sinister aspect. Was it a symbol of hope, of man's dominion over nature, or a harbinger of something darker, a conduit to a power older than time itself? The answer, I suspected, lay hidden somewhere beneath the surface of Lake Mirara, waiting to be revealed.